I'd like to tell you a story about the day I realized Kareem's value of being responsible for our communities is real, not just something that's written on the wall. It was late 2019 and we were in the final sprint to close the deal with Uber. And in the months ahead of deal close, the Uber lawyers made us aware of a new requirement that all Kareem captains had to get cleared against a sanctions list. And what this meant in practical terms was we had to run all the captains' details through a database. And in most places that wasn't a big deal. But out of the 2 million captains we had, about 100,000, we either didn't have great documents or we'd gotten false matches when we ran their names through this list. So a team was stood up, and by the end they were working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week to manually clear these captains, calling them up, asking them to come in and share new documents. And it became clear about a week and a half, 2 weeks out from deal close that we weren't going to make it. We weren't going to clear them all in time. So I got called in and I was asked to prepare the communications that we would send to these captains who we were unable to clear, informing them that they'd no longer be able to earn with Kareem so that the deal could close. And we were about to send it out and somebody gave me the advice. I was pretty new at the time. They said, why don't you take this and just run it by Mudassar. He'll have a point of view on this. So I did, and it was actually the first time I'd had a one-on-one with Mudassar. I'd only been with the company 3 months at that point. So I went and I stood outside the meeting room. He was working in and he called me in, and I was expecting about a 2-minute meeting, right? Here's one paragraph, could you read it over and let me know if it's okay? So he sees it and I explain the context. I say, this team's been working round the clock. They've done an amazing job. And this is the last step. And it's a requirement of deal close, so could you just look over the paragraph? And he looks at it and he asks me whose team it is. And I give him the colleague's name, and he immediately picks up his phone and he calls him. And he said, I'm sitting here with Colin and I understand we're about to block 1,900 captains from earning. And I can hear this colleague on the other end of the line starting to get frustrated. And did Colin explain the context? Yeah, he explained that you've cleared whatever, 1.99 million. But he said, this is totally unacceptable. He said, that's 1,900 families that might not eat next week. He said, there's got to be another way. Figure it out. And in that moment, I saw a guy who, he's the founder of our organization, co-founder, and he's about to have the region's largest exit, really momentous moment for the ecosystem, a $3.1 billion transaction. And by all rights, he should be focused on the $3.1 billion, and he's not. He's focused on 1,900 captains. And these were 1,900 hardworking guys who, through no fault of their own, were about to have their life turned upside down. And doing business fairly, taking responsibility for people's daily lives, these are nice phrases, but it was just he and I in that room. And values are what you do when nobody's looking. And the easiest thing in the world would have been to just approve the paragraph and go on to his next meeting, and he didn't. And the team went back and they found a creative solution, and not a single captain was prevented from earning. And it was something to see.